Hi, Stamper fans. Welcome to another Make It Monday. I'm so glad you're here. Whether you're joining me live on Facebook or if you're catching the replay on YouTube, thank you for joining me. I'm Nan Gerlitz, independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Bloomington, Illinois, and I am here to help you connect with your people, whether that's gathering to craft together or you making handmade items to share with them. It's all about making and deepening those connections. So let's get to it. All right. First up, as always, is Friday night Stampin' results. And we had some great votes. And if you remember correctly, Russ was on a 4-week winning streak, and I knocked him right off of that with my card. So I was in it to win it this week, I'll tell you that. I always try to make a nice card, but this week I was going extra hard because I'm like, I can't let him get 5 in a row. Hello, Penny. So this is with the Thankful Garden set, and absolutely love these hydrangeas. I'm just like, they're great flowers anyway. Thank you. But yeah, I kind of had this vision for the 2 in the back and then a different color in front. So, and it worked out really nice. And I will say that Russ actually helped out with the greeting and some, design elements. So as we always help each other out. And then I did want to also point out, though, that he heat embossed on his, which does not show up well in the photograph. So, and I just love the way these 2 black and white papers kind of came together, like very cool geometric vibe. So there you go. Thank you very much to everyone who voted over the weekend. We always appreciate you. And I will tell you, it is always my most popular post of the week. A lot of fun there. Okay, today, first, before we get into it, I wanted to remind everyone in the Bloomington Normal area, or hey, if you want to come down on Saturday, this Saturday, May 24th, is my next free class from 1 to 4 p.m. I hold these at the Bloomington Public Library in the conference room. It is not a library program. It is my program, but I book the room through them. So. And these are great because you can stop in for like a half an hour and just make the project, or you can stay the whole time and chat and craft and whatnot. So totally, it's a very loose vibe, very fun. Okay, so now this week is Technique Week, and I am doing faux linen for you. This is a really impressive technique to add some texture and to soften up a card as well. So definitely, if you've got some people on your list that look forward to your handmade cards, or maybe they're crafters themselves, they would totally appreciate this type of card. So we are using the Love and Strength stamp set this week. It's very hard to get these, get the image without the ring light in it. But anyway, very popular stamp set, I will say, because these phrases are just so fabulous, and the images are as well. So, and it's not part of a bundle or anything. It's just, it is what it is. It's a standalone. So I'm going basic beige tonight. I do have other samples to share with you at the end, so make sure you stick around. We're going to go early espresso for our outline. I'm going to be coloring tonight. So this is not a technique that you have to color for, though. And I have a sample that shows a non-coloring kind of thing. So I'm going to start out by basically making my own designer paper, my own background, right? You want to start out when you're doing that with your largest image, because then you can fill in the spaces with your smaller images. And if you noticed, when I was stamping, I would turn the cardstock instead of turning my stamp. That does make things a lot easier. And that way your stamps are going in different directions all the time, right? Okay, I'm going to put one right in the middle there. Looking nice. I like it. This is such a pretty stamp set. And then there's that little heart. Put a few of those out here just to fill in the gaps. And I will once again share with you one of the best pieces of advice I ever got at a Stampin' Up! Event for demonstrators. If you go and you're doing this kind of thing and you're like, hovering over with your stamp, wondering where to put the next image, you're done. If you have to search, you're done. So all good. So there we've made kind of our own little pretty pattern paper, right? Okay, this is the third time in 2 days that I have stuck my finger in an ink pad. I don't know what's going on with me. There, I'm like looking for tissue because I don't want to smudge my card. So see, you don't have to be perfect to do my job. And then I'm going to do some coloring. So sorry to those of you that don't like to color. But I've only got 2 colors here. I wanted Lost Lagoon. So I'm going to just fill in these leaves. I'm not doing any shading because this is going to get kind of covered up. It's going to get softened. So you're not going to see really like the big details. So shading would be basically a wasted effort on this particular card. So while I'm coloring here, I do want to remind you all that during the month of May, so we're more than halfway through, Stampin' Up! Does have a promotion going on with a great deal on the starter kit. So for $99, you get to pick out $166 worth of product, your choice, which I love. Let me tell you, when I joined Stampin' Up!, which was over 20 years ago, the starter kit was, here's your list of stuff you get, and you could switch out colors of like cardstock and ink pads, and like that was it. So, and then they got to the point where it was like, okay, you can pick out any stamp sets of these values. So, ooh, that was very exciting, right? Now it's just pick out $165 of whatever you want. So if you want all cardstock because you have a bunch of stuff already, you can do that. If you want to get all dies because, you know, you've been saving up for that kind of thing, if you want to get the die cut machine, that would be a great thing. Hey, Joan, how are you? Good to see you. So yes, so that is going on through the end of May through the 31st. And there is a link in the video description here about joining my Steampunk Stampers team. And that will give you all the information that you really need to make the decision. But if you have any other questions, you can always reach out to me through Facebook, through Instagram, through email, stampernan@gmail.com. So you can always ask me, and I am super low pressure. Ask Penny. The other cool thing I love, so I was talking about the demonstrator event where I got that great piece of advice. So those are things that I love about being a demonstrator is these events that we get together at. Some of them have some business. Some of them are pure creativity. A lot of them you kind of pick, you know, if you want to go to business classes while you're there, you can. And if you're just in it for the swaps and the new ideas for new product, hey, knock yourself out. So lots of demonstrators. I would say probably, I would bet more, the majority of our demonstrators are what I call discount divas. They are in it to get a discount on their personal orders, and Stampin' Up! Welcomes you. So there's never any pressure to hold parties or sell. But if you want to build a business, I am certainly here to help you with that as well. Because obviously that's what I like to do. Sorry, I get quiet when I color because, you know, concentration. Although this particular project doesn't require as much because like I said, I'm not shading. I'm not being super fussy or particular. I'm just getting the color down. And I do have a sample to show you at the end of solid stamps that I used as well. So there are definitely different ways to go about this technique. This technique has nothing to do with the style of stamp you use necessarily, other than it's going to affect the vibe of your card. And I really like this feel of these colors. This is Pretty in Pink and the Lost Lagoon on this basic beige cardstock. It's a very kind of vintage, yeah, kind of Victorian look. So exactly, Penny. That's what I was just thinking, like this. And I actually was fussing around with this technique on Saturday, trying to figure out, which images and things like that to use, and came up with this. I'm like, I think I need to go on basic beige, and that was what did it. So all right, so we've got our coloring all done. Now, the thing that you're going to need that I don't sell is white tissue paper for this technique. And it doesn't matter if it's wrinkly. So if you have like a birthday gift or something from Mother's Day that has some white tissue in it, just grab it. It doesn't matter what it looks like. It just needs to be a little bigger than the cardstock that you just stamped your images on. And I suppose you could probably also do this with designer paper. So I hadn't thought about that. Now I'm going to have to practice on that this week too. The other thing you're definitely going to need is liquid glue. Stamp and seal is not going to work for this. Okay. You definitely need your liquid glue. And I've got one of our old sponges. We don't really sell these anymore, but a makeup sponge would work. Our sponge daubers would work. An old paintbrush would work. I do kind of like a spongy effect to it. So, and you want our silicone mat. And actually, before I do this, I want to show you. So I've got some glue still here from Saturday when I was playing around, and it's still tacky because, that just dries that way. But the nice thing about the silicone mat is you can literally rub that right off, and it just comes right off, and it's perfect for hot glue projects. So if you do a lot of hot gluing kind of things, it's heat resistant and it doesn't, stick. So, okay, so I'm going to put my cardstock down, and then I'm going to get a good healthy dose of liquid glue over here and come in with my sponge or whatever I'm using, and I'm just going to dab it all over this. And I did find when I was doing this on Saturday that I did need to get more glue out usually. I usually underestimated. Here's the bad thing about having dogs. I just got dog hair all over. So you cat people, I'm sure, have the same problem. So, okay, I'm going to lift this off the mat so that the only thing sticky is that. Now you're going to take your tissue and you're just going to ball it up. And you're going to get it good and wrinkly. And then you're going to stretch it back out, but you're not going to smooth it. You want it to be wrinkly still. And you're just going to lay it over your project and press it down. Now you can see that it's got that kind of a linen vintage soft feel, right? Added texture, exactly. Yeah, the hair, I get it. Added texture, definitely. So you have two ways that you can finish off the edges. And my sample is going to show you one way. I'm going to do a different way. And I think this way is the way to go. If you want, the way my sample was done, I just cut off these corners and then I applied glue to the back and I wrapped them around. That is one option. The other option is to just go in and cut it even with your cardstock, which is what I'm going to do tonight. And the reason I think this is my preferred method, even though it's a little fussier, and that's why I avoided it, is because it gives you that clean edge. So if you have measured your cardstock and planned your card layout, particularly around that, you will get a cleaner edge this way, and you'll have the borders that you're kind of used to when you're making layers, right? So if it's a little more loosey-goosey and you can have not so defined borders, then by all means wrap it, because wrapping it does give that kind of a softer finished kind of thing. The one thing I also found out is that using your trimmer to trim tissue paper does not work. It shreds at one point. So scissors are definitely helpful. You have to use your snips. You can use larger scissors, but there we go. We have our finished piece there. So now I'm going to grab a layer of the Lost Lagoon. So if you have chosen to wrap your tissue, You definitely need to use liquid glue again on here in order to adhere it to the next layer, because otherwise the seal is going to rip your tissue. But since I cut it off, I can use my Stampin' Seal. And then I have opted for a basic beige base as well. Holy alliteration, Batman. And as always, you want to make sure you know which way your card opens, and then decide which way you want your design. I think this way. So and then I also used a different phrase on my card the other day, and I'm going to switch it up a little bit. I did use our Unbounded Love dies for my sentiment because it had that kind of Victorian feel. And so these feel a little more vintage, Victorian kind of label-like. So I used this one right here for my sentiment. And I am going to switch it up because I will say my favorite, and I think most people's favorites on here, is the "It's okay if all you did today was breathe." And that's very, very true lately, isn't it? So, all right. I did not put this on a block already because I always like to show you how I line these up, just in case somebody new is joining us. So with the red rubber stamps, the cling stamps, it does look like a locket, Penny. Yeah, like a cameo or something. They're such pretty labels. When you have the red rubber, you can't really see through it. And even though it's got the sticker on the back, some people apply them, some people don't. You're never really sure if like these words are exactly where they are here. So instead of relying on that and then maybe stamping it crooked, I line my block up with my grid paper. And then I do my best to look through here on one of the grid lines and try to line like the bottom of one set of words up with a grid line. And that way, I'm pretty sure that that sentiment is straight. Now, this is a little trickier because I'm used to dealing with like, you know, square layers or rectangular layers. So I'm just going to do my best to get this one vertical. And then we're going to grab our Lost Lagoon stamp pad because everything coordinates, and I love it because I don't have to think about things. Now, see, that's a juicy ink pad. I caught the edge, so I have to be very careful not to push down too hard. So at this point, I just want to line my block up with one of these grid lines, and then I know that that sentiment is straight. And there we go. Perfectly straight sentiment. All right. So that's all good there. Then I did grabbed my Pretty in Pink ink pad because there is a little kind of scatter dot stamp on here. So I thought I would add a little bit of that to my label. Give it a little more texture, right? A little more interest. And then before we apply this, I want to add some linen thread. So I didn't really have the right ribbon, and I felt like this was delicate, so I thought linen thread would probably be the best thing. So I will show you the way I kind of apply this. I'll put a couple of little lines of Stampin' Seal on the back. And instead of having to tie a bow or anything, right, I will just go at this, stick it down, make a loop, stick it down, make a loop. Stick my fingers down, stick it down again. And then I can just cut it there. And it looks like I've tied a bow, but I didn't. And then I want this up on dimensionals. So this is another nice little trick, is that I can put these dimensionals over the linen thread, and that will also help keep those in place. There we have it. And I will show you the other sample that I originally created, which had the saying going the other way. You'll notice I did not stamp as many flowers, so I kind of learned from that first one, like I need more of those flowers because I'm going to cover up quite a bit with my sentiment. And then you'll also notice the wrapped tissue as opposed to the cut tissue. So there's a definite border around this one, and this one's a little more loosey-goosey. All right, so it's totally up to you which look you want and which kind of project you're making, but those are your two options for applying your tissue. Now I have a couple of other samples for you. One is very colorful and fun with our cheers and sips. I knew you would like it. It's such an easy technique, right? It's like anybody can do this technique. And how many of us have tissue paper lying around? I mean, you could do it with other tissue paper too, I'm sure, but I like the white because it'll pick up whatever color you have in the back. So this is white tissue on white cardstock as well. This one's definitely more vibrant. I took all the little fruits from the cheers and sips and did those. So very fun. And then this one, instead of stamping on the background, I actually stamped on the tissue paper. This was a nice solid one. And then crinkled up the tissue paper and glued it to a sheet of cardstock. So you can stamp directly on the tissue paper and it'll be much more vibrant, much more colorful, right? These are more subdued, they're softened. So depending on the look you want, you can still get that cool linen texture, but you can have a much more vibrant kind of thing going on. With this, I would recommend to maybe sketch out the area that your cardstock is going to be so you really know where to place your images, because I was kind of higgledy-piggledy there. So if you want to plan a little better, you can definitely do that. But absolutely love this technique. I forget about it. I learned it years and years ago, and it is so easy. Like I said, it's just, if you got tissue paper and liquid glue, knock yourself out. You can do this. And if you do this, I would love it if you would post it online, put it on your Facebook, put it on your Instagram, and tag me at Stamper Nan so I can love on your project and everybody else can see how fabulous you are, right? Okay, so the supply list for this card is in the video description. So if you just click that link, it'll show you everything I used to make that one, aside from the tissue paper, which you'll have to source yourself. I know that like Dollar Tree has it all the time. And then the rest of the supply lists for these other alternatives plus measurements for everything will be in this week's newsletter. So if you have not signed up for my newsletter yet, that link is also in the description and you can get on that list. That is a free newsletter, comes out every week, and you can, of course, unsubscribe at any time. All right. I think that's all I have for you tonight, which is good because Voice Finale is on tonight, so I got to go upstairs and vote. Thanks so much for joining me. And if you've picked up a tip or some inspiration, go ahead and tag your bestie in the comments or share the video with them so that they can learn some things too. And until next week, I'm still Nan Gerlitz. Happy stamping.